Whoa. Ah, there we go. So, why am I doing this live? Well, I have been in the process of making the next video, and it just came into my mind that I would like to talk about this with actual people than just an audience I can later decipher what they might like. So, um, let me start by saying a few things about myself so you can all understand what's going on. I made a video yesterday, I think. Yes, it was yesterday, and I titled it. Um, well, I titled it. I haven't talked to my mother in about 2 years. Yeah, and before we continue, let me fix that. No, no, let me fix this glare. Let me just fix this glare so we can have some proper discussion. You see, I very much enjoy talking about such things. But I'm still new on YouTube, and unfortunately, there are still there's still a lot of mix-up with the setup. So yeah, I believe that's better, much better. So where was I? So yes, I started a new channel, and it's called Dad to Dad, and it mostly has to do with advice from a dad to another dad. It's about marriage. It's about children. It's about life as a married man in general. But it popped into my mind that I didn't actually have a dedicated series of videos towards stepmoms. So, what I thought was to make a playlist, a video series on what single moms, in my opinion, should look for in a proper stepdad. Someone who will take care of them and their children. And what immediately came into my mind is that many young women out there uh, have what I call warped standards. That doesn't mean that the standards that young women have are absolutely, horrible, or and I'm in no position to judge anyone's tastes, right? But in general, if your dating goal as a single mom is to create a family, then you might need to vet a bit more your future partner. And what do I mean by saying this? Well, and this is the title of the video I'm currently making. You can skip a lot and a lot of the fluff if you actually focus on extremely singular traits. So when you look out there for a partner who you want him to be a stepdad to your son, because yes, my channel mainly talks to dads who have sons, and I would like this to also be something that I am very forthright about. I have three sons. I don't have any daughters. So whenever I am being called to talk about raising a daughter, I really do not have that experience, at least not yet. But what knows what the future holds for me and my wife, right? We are still, if the doctor's word is to be taken for its credibility, just one more pregnancy away before, having to shut the entire process down. Yes, my wife won't be able to have any more children after this final, process. And we are very careful on when we are going to do it and how this will come about. But in general, and let me go back to what I was initially saying, you can skip a lot and a lot of fluff if you focus on a single trait on whom you want to attract as the future stepdad to your child. And that is about this. Is he a problem solver? Yeah, that's right. Is he a problem solver? Can he actually fix things? And not just things, situations? Can he handle people? can he protect you effectively? And that's basically it. You can skip most of the fluff if you focus exactly on if your future stepdad to your son or your child in general has the ability to solve problems. Now, is that the only thing he must do? No, no, of course not. But if he's a problem solver, then he has also fixed a lot of his problems, which means leadership, means emotional maturity, means independence, and you really, really don't want someone who will be your partner and who isn't independent. Your future someone, okay, if he is to be a good stepdad, he must also be a leader. And you cannot lead a family without being able to solve its problems. It's that simple. And let me draw now on my very personal experience on this. Well, I was raised by a single mom, and she never bothered to find another partner. Okay, she wanted to focus solely on keeping me safe and alive. That was her goal, right? And this was by far the worst thing that she could do, because I ended up taking up so much of her time because I was a young boy, and of course I was going to get myself into trouble. That's a given. And she had her work because she could and she did support me financially for a long time. And in the end, what happened was that she never found someone who could actually protect her and me. Okay, so I was pretty much devastated as a young boy and as a very, very, very young adolescent by her choice. And it's the very reason I still don't talk to her after all these years, because the reason she didn't to find another partner was the same reason she betrayed me eventually. Okay, it's because she was afraid, and that terror that she still feels even to this day is the single trait I don't want you as a future mom or as a single mom already to have. When you care for your child, being afraid it's for his or her safety or your own safety, it's by far the worst thing that you can do. Now, am I saying that this fear isn't healthy? Of course it is healthy, but do not ever let it control you. Okay, so again, back to where I was. You can skip a lot and a lot of fluff if you find someone out there who is a problem solver. Okay, and problem solvers are also leaders. And if they can fix things, if they can fix anything around their vicinity by default, it's a good start. Now, let's go into more in depth on this. You will find in your life men who can actually solve problems, and that's a very good place to start. Okay. However, they should also be able to be preemptive. Okay, they should be able to foresee problems and preemptively solve them, or preemptively create obstacles so they will never develop. And this is something that many women intuitively know. And that is why many young women and many women in general tend to find older men to be with them. And why is that? Well, because intuitively, women need someone to protect them, and there is nothing like an older man who has the experience and can preemptively strike whenever problems occur. And that is why many women, when they are asked about what do you find in him, he is old, he is like 20 years older than you. Yeah, well, yes, but he is an experienced man who can solve my problems. And guess what? He can solve his problems, and his problems, they will not be my problems. And here's the caveat. Here's what most women do not understand when they go into relationships and they do not get the expected results. Women in general, when they venture into what is actually a sexual relationship, they dread the moment they understand that they have become the mother of their partner. Okay, because as single moms, they are already, parents to someone. And women do not need a man who adds problems to their lifestyle or the life in general. They need men who can actually bring value into their lives. And if, as a man, you are not able to solve your own problems, then you will create problems inside the family you will create, and you will create problems for your partner. And this is why many women are also very, very disappointed with the men of today. And why is that? Well, it's our generation, and it's the generation of the 30s and 40s, 40 year, the generations of the 30-year-olds and 40-year-olds. Sorry, English isn't my first language, so I sometimes forget myself. So the men of these two age groups, we were raised by parents who had been birthed, and they managed to get right into the midst of the greatest wealth spur our modern civilization in general has ever seen. Okay, and these people, they actually felt that, okay, we are going to give our own children as much as we can possibly can. Okay, we are going to give them all the gifts, we are going to give them all the money, we are going to give them whatever they need. And my generation and the generation right after mine, we grew up without actually having a lot of independence. What do I mean by this? We weren't given the chances to become independent. We didn't need to get jobs right away. We didn't need to learn a lot of stuff that would be absolutely essential to start a family later on. We didn't learn to clean up after ourselves. We didn't learn to, be handyman. We mainly focused on our entertainment and our studies. And this is what happened to me, actually. And I had to learn a lot of things in the past 5 years of being a stepdad. And, as a woman, you need to have, again, a man who will solve your problems. And that man can never be someone who isn't ready by default before you meet him, okay, to solve these issues. Because if you are a benevolent woman, if you are a woman who thinks they have to save someone, if you think that his problems will become your problems and that's fine, and that you must be able to help him because you are his spouse, his permanent girlfriend, his fiance, whatever. If you think that you will solve this issue for him and make him the problem solver he already isn't, then you either have a lot of work, you must have a lot of patience and be prepared to feel a lot of indignance and perhaps a good bit of resentment towards your somebody, your special somebody. And this is what happened to me and my wife. Okay, I was not prepared to be a problem solver when I met her again. This is a story for another time, but I was not prepared at all. Okay, I was in the process of playing Pokemon, Magic the Gathering, doing a lot of things that pop culture demands from my generation, and I had created this life that basically prolonged. Yes, that's the word. Prolonged my childhood. Yes, it prolonged my childhood. I did things that weren't beneficial to me. I was learning nothing. I focused solely on my studies, and I was trying to make a career out of it. I was trying to get my doctorate. I completely went in another direction. After meeting my wife, I decided to get the skills I needed to raise my stepson and be of use to myself and her. Okay, but I believe I am one of the outliers. Okay, I believe that I am one of the bright exceptions, because it is very difficult to take someone as immature as I was as a woman and believe that you are enough to make a man out of him instead of having just another boy inside the house. And that's pretty much what I wanted to talk about in general in this live video. Yes, because again, you do not want, and you should dread the moment you understand that you have become the mother to your partner. Okay, that's the worst feeling you can have as a woman who is involved in a sexual relationship with a man. And you must never make the mistake that money, status, height, looks are the traits you should be following when you are looking for a proper stepdad. Because if someone has money, if someone has status, if someone has looks, and then I'm sorry to tell you, but he has a lot, and a lot of other females who are, perhaps, no judgment here, better options than you. And I'm not saying that you're not a valid option because you have someone else's child. Okay, that makes you a hero as a single mom. However, there are other women who are potentially younger and they are potentially far more available to a man of high status who has money and all these other things. And that man isn't guaranteed that he is actually emotionally available. Having money doesn't equate, being someone who is actually emotionally available to you and your son or daughter. Having status doesn't mean that you have earned it by hard work and solving problems. You might have status just because you were lucky. You might have status because you inherited it from someone else. Okay, these things are not guaranteed. They're never guaranteed. Instead of looking for those things, look for emotional availability. Okay, and we will talk in future videos about what this actually means. Look for the ability of problem solving. Okay, that's the main thing. And look in general for those leadership characteristics that define what is called in general an alpha male. Okay, and I will not go into this dark territory of the internet of what an alpha male actually is, although I espouse some of the alpha male characteristics and traits and beliefs. But at the end, what do you need from your man, okay, the one whom you're going to spend the rest of your life with, is not love. It's not kindness, and certainly isn't having good intentions. And that's the final thing I want to leave you with. You do not want a nice guy, okay? You don't. You actually don't. You want a man who is dangerous. And what do I mean by this? Because modern culture has actually diluted what a dangerous man actually is and what a dangerous man actually can provide. Okay. So what do we mean? So what do I mean by you want a dangerous man? You do not want a man who is going to beat you up. You do not want a man who is going to shout at your children and who is a terror to be around. No, that's not a dangerous man. That is a toxic and very, very malicious man that you should stay away from. No, a dangerous man is someone who can protect and can serve. Okay, and to do both those things, okay, he must first and foremost be a good man. Good men are dangerous men by default. You can't you can't ever have one without the other. A good man must be able to protect his family, and to protect your family, guess what you need? You need to be able to protect yourself, and you need to have the foresight to protect others. Okay, and you cannot protect anyone at all, if you're not dangerous. And again, how do you become dangerous as a man? Well, that's another story for another time, I guess. But as a single mom, you should look not for the man who is the loudest, not for the man who gets himself into trouble. That's actually very detrimental to your safety as well. A man who gets into trouble, okay, is very toxic. He's malicious and he's not dangerous. Men who get into trouble with other men, and some of them may be actually dangerous, and that stupid man actually gets himself in great trouble, and most of the times in physical threat. And this is the other part that you must also know. A good man, a dangerous man, is someone who can inflict physical damage. Okay, it's simple as that. If you get attacked, your husband must be able to deal physical damage. At the same time, okay, he can protect you against physical damage. You have to protect him from emotional damage. That's your role as a mom, and that's your role as a partner. And what do I mean by this? And this is something that I wanted to talk about in other videos, and I will talk more in depth in other videos. But here's the actual reality of the situation. Take an example, a simple example. You're out there in the street with your man, and you are walking together, hand in hand, and a giant figure rises in the distance and comes at you. and he's a bit threatening, and he's about twice the size as your guy, okay? And he, makes a pass on you, okay? A very, very disgusting and very, very malicious, because you are with your man, and this is malicious if someone does this and your man is present. And he makes a pass at you, cat calls you, okay? But you are with your man at the time. The worst thing that you can do to your man at that moment, okay, is that you can, if you do this, if you turn and ask your man, are you going to let him talk to me like this? You do not emotionally protect your man this way, okay? As a woman, you have immense social power over anyone. If a woman screams in the middle of the road, in the middle of the street, everybody turns their heads and everybody rushes in to help. If a man screams in the middle of the road, everybody turns their heads and waits to see what's going on. Nobody will save a man, and nobody will save your man, but everybody is going to rush to save you. So, how do you support your man in such situations? How do you support him against someone who is twice his size? Do you go and say again, are you going to let him talk like this to me? No, you don't. You actually protect your man emotionally, and you get a head start. And you might start being aggressive to the man who catcalled you in the presence of your own man. That's how you provide value to your man in the moment, and you give him the tools he needs, the social tool he needs to diffuse the situation. You provide your man with the credibility he needs to assert himself as a leader of the situation. If you, as a woman, give credit to your man at this point in time and tell the other guy something in something actually aggressive but also very productive, okay? If you tell him you are not even a speck of a man compared to this guy is my man. If you manage to do this in a very polite, if possible, and very cohesive way, then your man will worship you. And first and foremost, he will be able to crush this man socially. Because guess what? The moment you step in before your man, society will look at you because you are the woman and you are the protected member of society, not your man. And at the same time, they will look at your man and they will aid him. Why they will aid him? Because he has the support, the loving support, and the credibility and the legitimation, yes, that's the word. It's a difficult word, but it applies here. The legitimacy of a woman. And that is emotional gold to your partner. You give him the social tools he lacks in the moment. Okay, you give him the emotional tools he lacks in the moment to make him dangerous. Because a man who has the credibility and legitimacy of a woman is extremely dangerous, and society will take his side. You can make your man very dangerous from your part by using your femininity, okay? By showing to everyone that this is my guy. I support him, no matter what. There is nobody that can touch him. I protect him as well, societally, emotionally. Okay, and this is where I would like to end this video because I said a lot more than I really wanted to, and this is because I really know much about this stuff from my own experience, and I wanted to share. I wanted to share these things, even if nobody's watching still. I will record this video and have it out there so that it's out there that everybody can see. And again, this is how you solve problems for your man, okay? This is how you solve his problems he can't solve on his own. And because as a woman, you might not be able to solve day-to-day problems that have to do with leadership, okay, and controlling your child, not and controlling him or her in a benevolent way, okay, in a productive way, by moving the weight of responsibility to someone who is actually not a threat exactly, but the leader of the house. Okay, if you do this again in conjunction, in cooperation with your man, then what he expects from you is that out there, outside of the city walls, outside of your castle, outside of your home, you will be the one who will be his walls, his emotional walls, his societal walls. Because there is nothing worse to a man who is also a stepdad, and society, especially smaller communities, know that he is a stepdad. Okay, he knows that they know that he is part of a blended family, something that it is artificial yet beautiful. Okay, there is nothing like having the support and legitimacy of a woman that protects you out there. So a man is a leader inside the house, and he can be a leader outside the house. But a leader must have someone to follow, must have someone who is following him, and that is where many young women fail, uh, sometimes miserably. This is, and I'm sorry to say this, but it's what I observe. This is how many young women, what many young women fail to understand. If you are not able to be the follower of a man who is benevolent, a good man, a dangerous man, then he will not take special interest at you as a woman who can be his spouse, the future mother of his own children. Okay, because why find a man if you're not to start the rest of your family with him? Okay, as a single mom, why do that? You can, of course, always mix it up, and you can always say to him, I don't want any more children after my own. But this is something that many men, like me, do not immediately espouse, do not immediately say, okay, I will be just a stepdad. Many guys, like in my age, we want children of our own. That's normal, I believe. And again, I was going to close this video uh, in the first 12 minutes, but again, I feel that I have a lot to share, and I thank each and every one of you who actually listens. And again, the main theme of this live session was that if you want to find an actual man who can be the stepdad to your son, to your daughter, okay, to any of your future children, you can cut through a lot of vetting work by looking for this one characteristic. Is he a problem solver? That's it. Thanks for watching.